From Patrick Reed's Treegate to Rory McIlroy's final day holdout, the Dubai Desert Classic had some pretty insane moments. But amidst all the drama, there's one thing that went largely unnoticed. Yep, I'm talking about Reed's aggressive gesture toward McIlroy. It seems like most broadcast cameras didn't quite manage to catch this bizarre moment. But apparently, at one point, the LIV golf man was so frustrated that he actually hurled his tee at Rory. Now, everyone knew that tensions would be at an all-time high headed into the DP World Tour event. After all, both LIV and European Tour players on the same field, things were gonna get feisty. Not to mention, a lot of these players have been throwing shade at each other too. As a matter of fact, remember when McIlroy asked Norman to step down from his position at LIV?
Like, they're literally not guaranteed a job next year. You know, it's hard to stay in the top ones.
Well, guess who came to the Australians' defense? Of course, it was Reed. In fact, he went as far as to say that Norman's been doing a great job, and he's glad to be working with someone like him.
Just under 200, and then I had a bunch of emails as well. And
honestly, the Dubai Desert Classic was the perfect precursor to what could be an incredible Masters tournament this year. It was Patrick versus Rory, with the Irishman trying to cling to his final round lead.
To an 8-iron, expect this just left of it. He doesn't need to force the issue.
While the LIV man kept wiping it away with birdie after birdie. I mean, we couldn't have asked for anything more dramatic than this PGA Tour versus LIV Golf showdown. That said, the world number one did manage to hold on in the end by getting 2 birdies in the final 2 holes to win by a single shot. And while that was obviously frustrating for Reed, he didn't end up throwing anything after the finish. Though you've gotta wonder,
get in there. Work for me, Pat.
why did he throw his tee at McIlroy in the first place? Like, that's unnecessarily aggressive, even for someone like Reed, no? Well, it all started before the tournament. As I've already mentioned earlier, tensions were high coming into this one. You know, with 9 LIV members teeing up to our usual DP World Tour pros.
7 with Diaga and Jay.
Long-range birdie putt here. This is a...
Oh, and just in case you're curious, they're able to compete because the case for the European Tour's suspension is still in court. And until we hear the final verdict in February, breakaway league players can take part in these events. Coming back to the incident though, we all know just how vocal McIlroy has been against the league, right?
Look, my opinion is they shouldn't be here. They've been paid a lot.
I mean, it wouldn't be wrong if I said that he is LIV's staunchest critic. Now, apparently, when Reed approached the world number one on the range at Emirates Golf Club before the event, the Irishman just straight up ignored him. No, seriously, even after Patrick saluted the 4-time major winner,
you know, I'm pretty sure they're probably gonna go back to where it's determined.
he didn't get any response in return. Oof, that one must have hurt. So to take out his anger, he reached into his pocket, grabbed a tee, and flicked it in Rory's direction. Admittedly, this may not seem like a big deal at first, but considering how high the tensions are between the two sides, and how the rest of the event went, it's safe to assume that it was an all-out war in their minds. That being said, Patrick Reed wasn't the only guy to be aggressive towards McIlroy. In fact, Phil Mickelson threw some shade at him as well.
First of all, what a great win he had last week. Like, he played some great golf. And
yep, even when he's not involved on the field, good old Lefty still manages to find some way to get in on the drama. Though this time around, he didn't do it in some press conferences. And instead, he did it from his couch as he watched Rory lift that Dubai Desert Classic trophy, in what was frankly a rare tweet from him.
We all got together and played some practice rounds early in the week. You could tell that we all thought it was gonna...
Mickelson went ahead and congratulated the world number one for winning the event. Well, sorta. You see, he phrased it in a way that actually undermined the Irishman. He held on. Great birdie finish to win by 1, he wrote. Now, while this may not look malicious at first, it is anything but. Essentially, what Mickelson's implying here is that Rory barely managed to hold on to his big lead heading into the final day.
Booming it out of the roughs. Slightly out of his left. So there you go.
So, in a way, rather than commending him for the win, Phil is highlighting the fact that he almost bottled it.
Yeah, probably need to stand up there tomorrow and just hit this fairway just for his own good.
However, it's not like Reed himself was that great either. I mean, sure, he managed 5 birdies on the final day.
In a palm tree. So, you know, it was an unfortunate break there, but at the end of the day.
but many people think he shouldn't have been allowed to get so close to McIlroy in the first place. Of course, I'm talking about the now infamous tree gate. Now, this incident was arguably even more controversial than Patrick Reed's tee-throwing shenanigans. Why? Well, because on hole 17 during the third round, the LIV man slammed his ball straight into a tree. Here's the issue though, it's not exactly easy to identify a golf ball stuck inside a palm tree, especially when there are a dozen other balls stuck in there as well. In fact, in most cases where this happens, the golfer has to go all the way back and take his penalty from the tee. Reed, however, did manage to identify his ball, or at least that's what we're led to believe. Apparently, he uses a Titleist Pro V1 with an extra arrow and a dot on it. So in what can only be described as a miracle, he somehow managed to convince the referee that he could see his ball in the tree, and this meant that he could take his penalty drop next to the tree rather than going back. That said, if you look at the TV footage, it shows that his ball landed in a different tree. Yeah, I know, that's wild. Hence, there are some insane conspiracy theories floating around, claiming that he might have planted that ball in the tree himself. And obviously, this has led to people calling for LIV players to be banned from DP World Tour events as well. Though it looks like things could go in the opposite way instead. In fact, we could even see Mickelson on the DP World Tour. Yeah, talk about reducing drama. I mean, if this event was filled with so much animosity, considering we only had 9 LIV members, imagine what would happen if we got even more golf rebels on the European Tour. Well, if it brings more final day showdowns like the one between Reed and McIlroy, then I'm all in. And guess what? Mickelson is as well. Speaking ahead of his first tournament of the year, the Saudi International, the 52-year-old weighed in on the Dubai Desert Classic's nail-biting finish. He commended both players for giving it their all and said that such encounters can only be good for the game. And then he dropped the big bombshell. He said that if LIV players win their case in the UK, it's gonna open doors for more of them to play on the European Tour. After all, they're still barred from the PGA Tour. So not only will this be a great outlet for them during the breakaway league's own breaks, but also just a great thing for the sport in general. That said, while I agree that final day showdowns like the one in Dubai are great, adding even more players into the mix could bring another problem with it: too much drama. Like we all just saw the Treegate and Teagate controversies, right? And to be honest, I'd only expect that to increase if more LIV players decide to join the DP World Tour crew. Not to mention, the tensions between players are already at a boiling point, so who knows what other wild stuff could happen. Though even if the case doesn't end up getting resolved soon, we won't have to wait much longer to find the answer anyway. After all, Augusta National is just around the corner. And on that note, this was it for Reed and McIlroy's big finale and the controversies that came with it. See you in the next one.